But only Speaker McCarthy's commitment to America has a plan to repair our broken immigration system.
In this country, we believe in second chances. When people turn their lives around, it benefits our country and our communities.
Can suggest to this bipartisan committee for smart, competitive immigration reform that will strengthen our national security.
An alien can be convicted of multiple DUI offenses and still be eligible for amnesty under this reconciliation bill.
He inherited common-sense immigration policies such as Remain in Mexico and Title 42,
where the convictions were on different dates and the alien was imprisoned for collectively 90 days or more.
Second Amendment and immigration. A federal rule that prohibits unauthorized immigrants from possessing arms was challenged by an appeals court in a case that sprang from a man flashing a pistol in Tampa. The appeals court dismissed the plaintiff's petition. The 11th United States Circuit Court of Appeals, which is composed of 3 judges, has ruled that the law in question does not violate the Second Amendment. In the 17-page ruling, which was written by Judge Kevin Newsom and joined by Judges Elizabeth Branch and Andrew Brasher, it was said that none of this, of course, is to suggest that illegal aliens in the United States have no constitutional rights whatsoever. These individuals, however, do not have the right to keep and bear arms, as stated in the text of the Second Amendment and throughout its history. As a result, we are of the opinion that federal law satisfies its constitutional requirements. The prohibition on the possession of arms by illegal aliens is not considered to be an infringement of the right that is embodied in the Second Amendment. According to the verdict, the legal conflict started in 2019 when Ignacio Jimenez Chilon, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who had been living in the U.S. for more than 20 years, was detained while drunkenly brandishing a revolver outside of a taco stand. Jimenez Chilon had been living in the U.S. for more than 20 years. He is accused of breaking the legislation that prohibits unauthorized immigrants from possessing arms, which was brought against him by a grand jury. According to the ruling that was handed down, Jimenez did not contest his guilt, but instead requested that the indictment be dismissed on the ground that a conviction would impermissibly punish him for engaging in conduct that is protected by the Second Amendment. Due to the fact that Jimenez was found guilty of the charge in federal district court, the case was sent to the appeals court that is located in Atlanta instead. In his appeal, Jimenez stated, among other things, that he lived in the United States for decades and was therefore among the people whom the Second Amendment protects. On the other hand, the court went back through centuries of legal history and considered a decision made by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2008 in a case that was known as District of Columbia versus Heller. Despite the fact that the Heller decision is widely regarded as a significant success for proponents of armed rights, it also established that the constitutional right to keep and bear arms is not unlimited and stated that certain restrictions on arms do not violate the Second Amendment. As instances, the court in Heller cited limitations on the possession of arms by those who were convicted of a felony or who suffered from mental illness. In the finding, it was said that we can assume for the sake of our decision that he is and resolve this case more narrowly. This is because, happily, we needn't definitively decide whether Jimenez is among the people as a general matter. The reason for this is that we are particularly concerned with the extent to which the Second Amendment, which established a pre-existing right, applies to this situation. Even individuals who are undeniably a part of the people, such as dangerous felons and those suffering from mental illness, may not be able to take advantage of that pre-existing right, and as a result, may be prohibited from possessing arms without violating the Second Amendment. This is something that has been observed by both the Supreme Court and this court. That is exactly the case here. Even if Jimenez is able to make a valid claim to belonging to the people in general, it is possible that he may be prohibited from carrying arms while residing within our borders since he is an illegal alien.
Can suggest to this bipartisan committee for smart, competitive immigration reform that will strengthen our national security.
They should be respected.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman, I'd like 40 seconds
I've seen my constituents die in battle.
But only Speaker McCarthy's commitment to America has a plan to repair our broken immigration system.
Non-citizens to the police. A recent Illinois law permits any undocumented immigrant to pursue a career as a police officer. certain non-citizens are permitted by law to apply for positions as police officers, but they must be legally authorized to both work and carry arms in the country. According to immigration law experts, this includes those who hold green cards or lawful permanent residents, as well as people who are in the nation but do not yet have full citizenship, such refugees and asylums. Although they are officially recognized as eligible, people with deferred action for childhood arrivals, or DACA, are now not allowed to own weapons. On social media, people are spreading false information that an Illinois law that just went into effect will let illegal immigrants work as law enforcement officers. One Instagram user said on a widely shared image, "Just in, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed a law that will allow illegal immigrants to become police officers and sheriff's deputies. After this goes into force, individuals who are intentionally breaching federal law will be apprehending citizens who violate the law. The Democratic Party's insanity is now out of control." Similar remarks were made by well-known Republicans on the website that was once called Twitter. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis wrote, "No illegal alien should have authority over any American citizen. That this is even a debate is a sad commentary on the state of America." Yes, you heard that correctly, Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert said in response. People can now arrest citizens of the United States who are breaking the law simply by being here. However, the law that Pritzker approved and that goes into effect in 2019 makes it very plain that the only people who qualify are non-citizens with work authorization and valid permits to carry arms. Under federal law, an individual who is not a citizen but is lawfully permitted to work in the United States may apply for the post of police officer. However, this candidate must meet all the same standards and constraints as other applicants, with the exception of citizenship. The bill's Democratic sponsor from Aurora, State Representative Barbara Hernandez, claimed that people in the nation illegally do not meet the requirements because they are unable to lawfully buy arms. Arm ownership is restricted by federal law to citizens, permanent residents, and other individuals who are in the nation legally. According to Lauren Aronson, director of the Immigration Law Clinic at the University of Illinois College of Law in Champaign, immigrants who would probably fit the new law's requirements include those who have green cards, and maybe those who have been awarded asylum, refugee status, or another type of permanent status. She clarified that anyone in the country on temporary visas, such as foreign nationals here on student, tourist, or work-based visas, would not be eligible. DeSantis representatives did not reply to a request for comment sent on Friday, and Boebert did not address the answers from Illinois officials through a representative. Rather, she objected to the fact that the new law, which is comparable to ones that have been enacted in California, Colorado, Vermont, and Hawaii, specifically mentions DACA recipients. In an email statement, Boebert said that the immigration policy, which keeps deportation for people brought into the country illegally as young children, is unconstitutional, since Congress never approved it when former Democratic President Barack Obama adopted it. The bill's supporters pointed out that because DACA recipients aren't regarded as lawful permanent residents, they are still prohibited from possessing arms. informed me that the ATF has updated their background check policy, and as of right now, they allow illegal immigrants to purchase arms without a background check, the woman claims. Now, this oddly aligns with New York, California, and Chicago, allowing illegal immigrants to hold law enforcement positions. Within a week, the video had over 40,000 likes. Dispelling misinformation. This is incorrect in every way. Arm ownership is forbidden by federal law for those who are in the nation illegally, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Arms, and Explosives is powerless to alter these laws on its own. Furthermore, no law enforcement organization employs officers who are not authorized to be in the nation. Federal regulations clearly forbid immigrants living in the U.S. without authorization from obtaining or owning arms. 18 U.S.C. 922, which was created by the Gun Control Act of 1968 and has since been revised by other laws, contains the majority of federal law limiting who is legally allowed to own arms in the U.S. ATF spokeswoman Johnny Michael states that the list of individuals prohibited from possessing arms includes numerous types of non-citizens. The list is still in effect today. According to the statute, those who are forbidden include those who are illegal aliens, statutory prohibitions, Michael emailed USA Today. ATF guidance flyers from 2020 highlight these limitations and make it clear that most individuals in the country legally on non-immigrant visas are not permitted to own arms. If a person possesses a valid hunting license or permit, meets the requirements to be considered an official representative of a foreign government, or is a foreign law enforcement officer of a friendly foreign country entering the U.S. on official law enforcement business, then there are exceptions to the rule. The allegation might have its roots in a misinterpretation of FBI guidelines from August 2023, which said that refugees had to be evaluated as immigrant aliens for eligibility purposes. If certain requirements are satisfied, that distinction permits the acquisition of arms, but it doesn't refer to those in the nation illegally.
He inherited common-sense immigration policies such as Remain in Mexico and Title 42.
This is a lever action. Under this bill, lever actions apparently are okay.
An alien can be convicted of multiple DUI offenses and still be eligible for amnesty under this reconciliation bill.
Hiring lawful residents. An additional claim made in the video is that police forces in California, Chicago, and New York accept illegals into their ranks. Accusations that persons in the nation illegally may be police officers in California and Illinois have already been refuted by USA Today. The accusations were based on false information regarding laws that both states passed that let select legal non-citizens to work in police departments. Law enforcement organizations in California are now able to hire participants in the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program who fulfill specific requirements. DACA gives those people who were brought into the nation as minors and do not otherwise have lawful status the ability to work and get lawful status. The Los Angeles Police Department announced in December 2023 that it will change its policies to mandate that officers carry their service arms when they are not on duty. Without that modification, DACA holders who work as police officers may have been required to surrender their official arms at the end of each shift. Police officials stated they thought it would be lawful for those cops to always carry arms because it would be a part of their official duties. The Illinois statute that permits non-citizens who are legally residing in the U.S. to apply for police department jobs went into effect on January 1. The measure permits non-citizens, including DACA recipients, to apply for positions as police officers, but in order to be hired, they must be authorized to carry a handgun. ATF guidance flyers from 2020 highlight these limitations and make it clear that most individuals in the country legally on non-immigrant visas are not permitted to own arms. There were exclusions for those who used a legitimate hunting license. USA Today was directed to the New York Police Department's hiring page by a representative, which states that the agency only employs citizens of the United States.
The previous ban on assault weapons. This has nothing to do with the Second Amendment,
where the convictions were on different dates and the alien was imprisoned for collectively 90 days or more.
The most popular handgun in the United States that was purchased is a Glock 19.
The bill denies eligibility for an alien who has been convicted of 3 or more offenses.
You say that crime went down, but did you know that the sales of the so-called assault weapons went up?
Navigating contradictions. A new bill that was signed by Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker appears to broaden the eligibility requirements for jobs in law enforcement to include non-citizens, such as those who are participating in the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. This is despite the fact that DACA members are expressly prohibited from possessing weapons under the statute. The subject was discussed by Lauren R. Aronson, who is a clinical professor at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign College of Legal, and also serves as the director of the Immigration Law Clinic. Phil Ciciora, the business and legal editor for the News Bureau, was present during the conversation. Within the modified statute, there are 2 additional articles that broaden the eligibility requirements to become law enforcement officers. One of these clauses deals with immigrants who are authorized to work by the federal government, while the other clause expressly relates to individuals who have received DACA. The section that pertains to the DACA participants is more of an aspirational clause than anything else, because, according to the existing federal law, this group is not permitted to lawfully purchase arms, regardless of whether they reside in Illinois or somewhere else. In accordance with the modified statute, immigrants who are in possession of lawful status and are authorized by the federal government to possess arms are now eligible to become sheriff deputies and police officers in the state of Illinois. The individuals who fall into this specific category are legal permanent residents, such as those who possess green cards, as well as other groups, such as those who are seeking asylum and refugees. Every one of those groups possesses legal status in the U.S. and has the opportunity to become citizens of the United States. Individuals who belong to these groups are not prohibited from possessing arms, as stated by federal law. Because of this, individuals have the potential to become law enforcement officers. In contrast, individuals who are eligible for DACA are not permitted to legally possess weapons. That being said, despite the fact that this new law in Illinois states that DACA participants are eligible to become police officers, they are not permitted to do so because the law also stipulates that they must be able to lawfully possess an arm.
Under the current text, an alien convicted of a DUI can still get amnesty.
The Second Amendment says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
In this country, we believe in second chances. When people turn their lives around, it benefits our country and our communities.
The number of so-called assault rifles, what you all are calling assault rifles, had doubled.
Is it to your benefit if you live in those areas where illegals are casting their vote for you? Politically, is it to your benefit?
Clarifying misconceptions. DACA recipients are regarded to be lawfully present in the United States. This means that while they are in the country with the DACA designation, they are not accruing unlawful presence. This is a significant distinction that pertains to the capacity of an individual to re-enter the United States in the event that they were to leave and then return. However, recipients of the DACA program do not possess lawful status, which would be equal to a valid visa for employment, tourism, or education, as well as refugee or asylum status. Some of the people who received DACA were brought to the United States illegally by their parents or entered the country illegally themselves, but many of them entered the country with legitimate visas that eventually ran out. And the guess is that the answer that is the most accurate would be that they do not have any legal or lawful status at the moment, but that their presence has been allowed by the policy of the government. Anyone who is illegally or unlawfully in the United States is expressly prohibited from possessing an arm, according to the federal law. In order to answer the question of whether or not DACA recipients are allowed to carry arms, it is necessary to determine whether or not they are in the United States illegally or unlawfully. Does the word "in" suggest that they must have lawful status, or does it mean that they must be present in accordance with the law? As of right now, it is understood to indicate that in order to possess an arm, one must have lawful status. This is the reason why individuals who have DACA, temporary protected status, or those seeking asylum, as well as others with deferred action, are not permitted to acquire arms. No matter if they have status in the past or will have status in the future, the most essential thing is that they do not have status at the present time, and as a result, they are not permitted to legally own an arm. In addition, individuals who are in the U.S. on employment-based visas, student visas, or tourist visas are not permitted to acquire weapons in the country. All of these individuals are prevented from possessing arms in the U.S. To reiterate, this particular provision of the legislation is more of an ideal than anything else. In the event that there is a change in the meaning of the federal arms statute or the statute itself, only then will those who have been granted DACA become authorized to serve in law enforcement in the state of Illinois. Because of this, the hysteria that is sweeping through social media over so-called illegal immigrants arresting individuals on U.S. land is completely erroneous. This is an entirely untrue statement.
Thankfully, the Supreme Court has challenged the legality of President Biden's policies and overturned the removal of Title 42.
3-round burst or semi-automatic. Those firearms are not allowed for purchase in the United States today.
In the Heller case, the Supreme Court made clear that the Second Amendment protects firearms in common use.
I'd also like to address the House on an issue that occurred yesterday in Maine. Another assault weapon.
Navigating legal ambiguities. What would be the motivation for legislators to include language that is most likely in conflict with a federal statute? That is a question that should be directed more towards the legislators of Illinois. But if we were to speculate, we would say that the law was drafted as a means of advancing the subject. There is also the possibility that it is drawing attention to an ambiguity in the federal statute through this. On the other hand, the rationale that is more likely to be correct is that the state of Illinois has been progressive on the topic of immigration, while Governor Pritzker has been providing leadership. Over the course of the last 10 years, there has been a significant amount of legislation that is favorable to immigrants. This might be an additional means of displaying how welcome the state of Illinois is to immigrants. But in the end, we are not certain that the legislation actually undergoes a significant amount of change. The law is not insignificant because it recognizes the right of green card holders and possibly a few other individuals to work as law enforcement personnel. In light of the ongoing lack of police officers that we are experiencing in the present day, that is something to consider. On the other hand, the terminology that the DACA program uses is quite forward-looking. An additional area of dispute that we would like to clarify is the manner in which any law enforcement agency is able to carry out a comprehensive background check on an individual who is present in the United States unlawfully. Your past criminal record is available to everybody, regardless of whether or not you are in compliance with the law. There is a distinction between individuals who are in the country unlawfully and those who are recipients of DACA. Employers are able to quickly conduct background searches on DACA participants who seek jobs because they have previously been subjected to comprehensive background checks, which include databases from the federal government as well as state and local governments. However, despite the fact that DACA recipients are among the most thoroughly screened individuals in the United States, they are still not allowed any legal status. This is the irony that is causing the outcry. This is what we would refer to as a pseudo-status that they are granted. They are in a state of uncertainty. On the other hand, those who seek for a green card or for citizenship in the United States can have a long list of criminal offenses or minor offenses on their record, such as driving under the influence of alcohol, and yet be granted full legal status. Beneficiaries of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program are held to a far higher level.
And they're coming for your firearms. 6 weeks ago, it was the red flag law.
To a member on the Democratic side that served in a combat area designated zone and deployment of our country.
For years, the Democrats told us we're not coming for your guns. Oh, yes, they are.
That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.